I remember stepping back into that river and feeling that, that cold water and that temperature, and it just came back to me. And the whole world was just like peaceful for a moment, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And it deeply impacted me, and it deeply affected me in a positive way.
Sure.
So I knew that getting this to especially adolescents, it's something that you're planting the seed, and it's a lifelong pursuit.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching, for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today. I'm excited to be out in the field for this show. We're at the Arch Academy, and we're going to learn all about that today. Mr. Barry Cross is helping me co-host. Thank you for jumping in for Don.
Glad to be here. I'm hoping I don't mess anything up for you today. This ought to be fun, though. Really, this is a good show and an important topic that we're going to be talking about. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've already got the tour of the academy here, and we're going to learn all about this Arch Academy today. Don is on special assignment, so he'll be back in a few weeks. But we're going to jump right in and learn about the folks that are joining us today, or we're joining them. We're on their turf today. But Mr. Dean Porterfield, the Executive Director of Arch Academy, and Kenny Davis, the primary therapist here. Glad to have you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
So you gave us a tour of the place. We got to walk around for a little bit and check it out, and appreciate that. But we're going to dive into what this place is all about. But first, I want to learn about you guys, learn about who you are, what you do, and what you like to get into outside of the office. But we'll just start with Dean.
All right. Appreciate it. Dean Porterfield, Executive Director here at Arch Academy. Been with Cumberland Heights, which is Arch Academy is adolescent recovery of Cumberland Heights for 12 years. Been working in the industry for going on 25 years.
Okay.
Primarily working with adolescents struggling with primary addiction, co-occurring disorders such as anxiety, depression, those kind of things. Prior to coming to Arch Academy, ran an outdoor program for about 10 years. So, yeah, so this campus is been a dream of many people and a huge investment from the Middle Tennessee area. So.
So no stranger to the outdoors.
No stranger to the outdoors. Grew up on a dairy farm in southern West Virginia.
Okay.
So spent my plenty of time fishing and still do when I can. And
Milking cows.
Yeah, milking cows, dairy cows. Now it's turkeys. Now it's turkey farm.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Do you get home much?
I'm actually next week headed home for the West Virginia State Fair. So see my family, and it's been a tradition of ours for years. So show dairy cattle.
Yeah.
Have a niece and nephew who are showing sheep. So yeah,
Awesome.
love it.
That's
Awesome.
a big deal, especially here in Middle Tennessee with the
Right.
State Fair and things going on here
Oh,
too,
yeah.
coming up
Absolutely.
pretty soon. So, Kenny, tell us about yourself and what you do for Arch.
Yes, sir. Very grateful to be here. My name is Kenny Davis. I'm a primary therapist here at Arch. I have my own journey with recovery, and as I was going through treatment myself, I felt kind of called to the cause to help out other people that suffer from the same disease that I suffer from. So in 2017, I hired on to our main campus, Cumberland Heights. And I worked there for 4 years, and I came over here to work with adolescents for the last year. So it's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool to know that you've been through some of this, the same stuff that these kids are going through,
Absolutely.
and able to minister to them and help them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's a
cool.
huge part of it.
Well, so let's dive into what Arch is all about, what it is, and learn a little bit about it. So, Dean, you
For
want
sure.
to cover that?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, the youth component of Cumberland Heights has been around, I believe around 37 years. So, and I've been part of that for the last 12 years. We're a nonprofit. Started out on our main campus, which is the River Road campus, about probably 20 minutes from our current location here in Pegram, Kingston Springs area.
Okay, yeah. So folks that don't know, right here in Middle Tennessee,
Yeah.
not too far from Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Tucked right off out here in the middle of nowhere. You don't know where we are.
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
It's beautiful out here.
It's gorgeous, and actually we're right on the Harpeth. We actually own down to the banks of the Harpeth. Not very accessible from our property, but anyway, our CEO and my supervisor came to me a few years ago and said, you know, what if we were to create an adolescent campus separate from where we're at, and our location was great, and it was a great place for people to heal, but let's do something more. And so this idea of Arch Academy came about, and in fact we did our brainstorming in this very room. It used to be a bed and breakfast, and as we kept dreaming and conceptualizing what this would be, it just kept growing. And so primarily we serve adolescent males age 14 to 18, struggling with substance abuse is the primary issue they come to us with, but underlying circumstances might be anxiety, depression, grief, a lot of trauma, what we call everything from intergenerational trauma or witnessing their friends pass and things like that. So it's a population that that really needed a place to come to, and we found this. Actually, Jay Crossan, who is our CEO, found this place. Was just looking around for a program for one of our other branches, and said, you know, maybe this is it.
Yeah.
And so our board was gracious enough to give us the green light, and the goal was to kind of take more of that kind of clinical setting that you get with traditional adolescent or substance abuse treatment, and pair it with that outdoor background I had from the wilderness program or the outdoor therapeutic piece, knowing the impact that would have.
And I was going to ask you, how important is that outdoor aspect of healing?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's kids I worked with, or young men now that I've worked with, 10, 15 years ago, they come from all walks of life, and especially if they haven't experienced the outdoors, man, that's part of their life now. It's a coping strategy. It's a new high. Our goal is to replace whatever these guys are struggling with something that's productive, healthy, it's engaging. The thing I love about just the outdoor component is that regardless of what background you come from, socioeconomic background, whatever, nature's fair. Right? When it rains, if you're out there, we all get wet.
Yeah,
right. And so it's an equalizer, and it's also a spiritual connection.
So it's a good way of teaching, using nature and outdoors?
Absolutely. And these guys will come here just so angry at the world, and then they'll spend the times where they're out on our ropes course or zip line or our fly fishing program, and there's just a new sense of calmness, and no social media, no cell phones. So it's also a digital detox as well, and you just it's a huge difference from a kid that came in the first week to what you see when they leave, and they love visiting and staying in touch. And one of the things, Arch Academy was built by alumni, by individuals like Kenny who have went through the program or went through some sort of recovery or have had a family member. What we know about addiction is it's a family disease. So if we can get these kids at this age, man, we can impact a whole generation and future generations. They are the catalyst to that change. So.
Well, you were talking about some things earlier. We were discussing a few things as we were touring around and thinking about how quickly this academy has grown and how big it's become.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have those donors who have been through the program, how successful they've been.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for this, they probably wouldn't have been a successful individual and been able to give back like they have.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that's and you'll see that all through Cumberland Heights. It's like anytime I put out a need or ask for support, it's always there. Not just and those who can't give, at the same level financially, they show up. And they whether it's our kids get Christmas stockings. They get whatever we need, and that's actually how this fly fishing program came about. Is Kenny mentioned it, and I pushed in a little further and said, if you could create a curriculum or something that would, because it just made perfect sense that this ties with recovery. I mean, and he can be more specific about that, but it was I tossed the idea out there, and then we had sponsors jump on board, and Kenny can give nod to those folks, including you all, and we had we had the funding probably within a week and a half.
Wow.
To get it started, and we still have folks that are reaching out and wanting to be part of it and excited about, what we're doing with these guys out here. But we're literally amazing staff. It's not an easy job, if you can imagine. Having anywhere from 20 to 30 teenage adolescent males in one area, but we have the nature, we have the outdoor piece, we have equine therapy, we have pottery, we have so music therapy, art therapy. So man, we're going to throw everything at them and see what sticks. And fortunately, they find some serenity they've missed out on for a while.
So one of those things that sticks is fly fishing therapy.
Absolutely,
well,
absolutely.
Can you tell us about that, and tell us how, why you're so passionate about that, how this kind of came about to add fishing as part of this therapy?
Absolutely. So for me, in my personal journey with fly fishing and recovery, my father actually taught me when I was about 6 years old. And then later on through my life, he left my family, and that was, part of the catalyst that led me into substance use. So for a long time, I was mad at fishing. I was mad at, him, and mad at the world and all those kind of things. And I remember we went to Maggie Valley, North Carolina. And I did get a day license, just so you know. And I actually proposed to my wife. Her name's Maggie as well. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it was pretty special. But my stepdad at that point bought me a fly rod, and I was nervous because I hadn't fly fished in so long. So I remember stepping back into that river and feeling that that cold water and that temperature, and it just came back to me, and the whole world was just like peaceful for a moment, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And it deeply impacted me, and it deeply affected me in a positive way.
Sure.
So I knew that getting this to especially adolescents, it's something that you're planting the seed, and it's a lifelong pursuit that you can do. If it's cold outside, you can go tie some flies or whatever. If it's raining, you can do the same. You can research bodies of water that you like to fish. And I knew that part, nature for me is, just like Dean said, it's a great equalizer, and it really rewards that humility and that approach and that stillness and that quiet. And just like we were talking about, cast after cast, you're not getting it right, and you're practicing. And it's cool to hear these guys redefine that notion of success in fishing as not just catching a fish. It's that practice and practice and practice. So,
because when you get it right, it's like, man,
when you get it right,
day.
What a day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, I mean, when you talk about fly fishing, is there something specific about that resonates with the kids? I mean, or how do you teach through that?
Well, to all the fly anglers out there, I don't think I have to talk about that spiritual component too, and there's nothing wrong with, more passive forms of fishing, catfish fishing or whatever that is. But just that active form of fishing where you must be connected, you must be aware, you must, consider all these things that are going on around you and be aware of your environment. It really forces you to practice those things. So for me, there's just something spiritual about it, and I don't know how to explain it, but I know the other fly anglers know exactly what I'm talking about.
What do you see with the kids when they get a fly rod in their hand and you start trying to instruct? I mean, it can be frustrating, but what do you see?
Absolutely. The first time that we went out, we actually had about 2 months. We got our donation from Trout Unlimited, and we got some gear, and we spent a lot of time on the basketball court that we showed, and they were able to practice casting. So the first outing we went to, we had kids that had 2 or 3 months of experience in casting, and it was pretty smooth. I mean, considering, and now we go out more often, and we have to do a little bit of on the fly training. That's a pun. And
I call it.
On the fly, yeah.
but it rewards that notion of perseverance. And no, this is not easy. You know, I mean, we have spinning rods down in the basement too, and we could go that route. But this is not an easy form of fishing, and that's part of it. It's part of the perseverance that it takes. So you find a kid sitting on the bank. You know, I try to police the bank back and forth and make sure that everybody's still having a good time. And he's sitting there and he's all bummed out, and then showing him, hey, let's try this. Let's take this approach. Let's cast right there by that spot, see what you get, and then to have him hook up, and man, it's moving. You know, take a kid fishing, you won't regret it. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've said that a lot of times. It's a special place to be out there with a kid and see them catch their first fish. Or,
Absolutely.
You know, no matter how old they are, to see somebody catch a fish, it's fun. I can see that therapy. And I think back to some of the other programs around Tennessee, like the Casting for Recovery, you know, breast cancer folks or women who have been through that find that as a, you know, exercise and therapy for them. And it's pretty amazing what fishing can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you talked about sponsors earlier. You had people that stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
Who helped out with getting this going?
Absolutely. So the Music City Trout Unlimited helped out with some funds on the front end. Blake Parsons, he really helped us out there. We work with a retreat center called Rowwood Retreat Center. They're about 20 minutes I guess south of here, and they were affected by some flooding in 2010, obviously, and then a couple years back too, they were affected by some flooding. So we go out there, provide service to help them kind of clean up some of the stuff that they're working on, and in turn, you know, they let us come out there pretty much anytime that we want to, and as long as we're very respectful, clean up the environment, any trash we find, pick it up, and it's been really, really helpful. The other one, of course, is you guys. You guys provide 1-year license for these kids of all species of fish, and I'd love to see a lot of them come back and fish Tennessee because we have, my understanding is, the highest number of fish species in any landlocked state. So hopefully they'll come back and maybe catch some trout is what I'd like to see them catching. So they have trout stamps and everything.
Yeah, it's a very diverse state and a lot of fun places to fish. Like you said, I'm very thankful to our foundation for their support in this program. We couldn't do a lot of things without them. They help out in a lot of ways that the agency can't directly, but providing that opportunity for those kids to and the Arch Academy not to incur that cost is amazing, and get them out there.
Yeah.
So trout, why trout? Is that can you chase other things?
Yeah, no. I mean, and we're not necessarily fishing for trout in the Harpeth River in the summer, but I think trout are just like that. That fish that every fly fisherman wants to hook up on. I mean, obviously there's other larger trophy fish too, but something about a nice 14-inch rainbow trout just does it for me all day long.
Yeah, well, I'm the warm water side of things.
Yeah.
So if I get a smallmouth that's 14 inches, I'm in my happy place.
Salivate.
So. Not only do you teach them how to fish, but you teach them other aspects of the trout, or of the fly fishing game,
Absolutely.
don't you?
Yeah.
And what do you do?
So we have, I think it's a 6-part curriculum. We do obviously basic casting. We do a whole session of just knots, and I think that's a huge part of it too. I mean, every fly fisherman knows that if you don't know your knots, you're going to have a bad day. Yeah, it's going to be a very frustrating day. Not to mention conservation, not to mention identifying fish species, not to mention, safety around the river and other species you might run into, snakes and all that kind of stuff. Fly tying, I don't know if I said that. We've been doing, really focusing on that over the last month and stepping up on that. So I think that's it.
Yeah.
We got going on right now.
Yeah, and fly tying for me, that's a wintertime thing for me. Then tie up a bunch of stuff, and then I hope that I can get something to bite what I've created. But I mean, that's really kind of meditative, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's a huge. We met a kid earlier, and I was talking to you about how he didn't necessarily love the fishing aspect of it, but he really connected with the process and the structure and the art form of fly tying. To mimic a living creature, and then to hook up on a fish with the fly you caught or you tied. Man, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Powerful. Yeah, that's cool. And you got a few of those here that they've tied. I thought it's pretty cool. How do they decide what colors they want to use, or what? You got any tips or tricks there that they're It's just what they like, I guess.
So,
and
yeah,
what,
I mean,
what matches the hatch.
They can be creative for sure, and I don't have, there's even more actually than that. We lose some too when we go out there, but, and a lot of guys are like, oh, I want to use red or I want to use a certain color, and that's fine too. But obviously, black woolly bugger on the South Harpeth is gonna catch you fish all day long. So that and maybe some poppers we're gonna start working on too this month.
Nice.
So, but they can do whatever they want to do.
Well, going around and seeing some of the places and seeing their artistic ability and their creativity and some of the art that they've done here, I could see them getting some pretty creative flies going.
Oh yeah. There's definitely some psychedelic colored flies, and you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know what's going to catch fish either. Who thought pink would catch stuff?
Right.
So, but I mean, to me, fly fishing is, some people like golf. Golf to me is a frustrating sport, and
It can be
in many, many ways.
But it's fun.
And fly fishing can be, but to me, being out in nature is got that big plus. And does that part of it fall into the structure that you got? Does that mean something to these kids when they get out there?
Absolutely, and part of that is that obviously with a 9-foot fly rod, they're going to have to separate a little bit, and that stretch of the river that we have access to is great for that because it's a good, probably 300-yard shot where I can, you can still keep eyes on them, make sure that everything's okay, and they can really spread out and have their own personal experience with fly fishing. So I think they appreciate that because here they're always kind of with each other, and that's great to build that community, but also to find the balance and find some, some solitude, not necessarily isolation, but some solitude to think things over.
Right, and there's nothing to get you thinking more than having that 9-foot fly rod and the line going out. And when things aren't going right, you're like, man, I can't get it right. But when it does, when it does come together for you and you start feeling it, and it is a feel, it really, you have this sense of accomplishment. And I'm guessing the kids, when they start getting it, they really have that feel, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And to speak to, walking that bank, and I found that one kid who was struggling. He was sitting there, he's all tangled up. He actually broke the tip off of a fly rod, which is, $3 fix, not that big of a deal. But he was struggling. So I said, hey, why don't you do this? Let's go back to the van. I got another outfit out there. Let's grab that, and let's come back down. And I just sat and I worked with him for a minute. And in the video that we shared with you guys, that's him in that clip, and he caught a fish at that moment with me, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave you alone. And he caught 3 more that day, and he'd been out 6 times without catching anything. So really learned what it takes to persevere, to kind of come out of that funk, and then let's ask for help, and let's find some solutions here.
That's amazing to me. I really do think outdoors is a great. What do you call it? It equalizes you, I guess is what I would say. Yeah, therapy. There you go. Because it does. It grounds you and helps you out. And I think more people need to be outdoors, but that's my opinion. So, but anyways,
I'm inclined to agree.
It's just walking out in the back porch and a cup of coffee and sitting there. It does something. It's just being outside. Before time runs out, I want to make sure people know how to learn more about you guys and find you on your social media accounts, your website, whatever that may be, and how they can donate. So, Dean, do you want to cover some of that?
Absolutely. And just echoing some of what he said, we're grateful for folks that supported this program, specifically the fly fishing, and our advisory committee, and a guy named Kyle Williams, who's on our team, who just went out there and found these connections with Fly South, Trout Unlimited, and Kenny connected with you guys. But it's Arch Academy, arch.org. You can find our website, and then also Facebook, Instagram, just Arch Academy, and reach out to us, and we actually post some of the pics and photos that we do or take on these trips out there. So it's amazing. I think, just giving Kenny and the folks that go out there credit, these guys get up at they complain about 6 in the morning they leave here or something crazy.
Up at 5, leaving at 6.
So they're not so inclined to be motivated. But as soon as you see them step off that van after they've been, no regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets. It's that meditation and therapeutic component of it is, there's science behind it, and we know that nature provides us with chemicals that our brain needs, and especially for this population, it's literally life-saving, as Kenny spoke to.
Yeah. Well, and so those social media accounts, those links, that'll be how you can find ways to donate or connect with you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, if you buy a hat from our e-store, that's some of that money that you're buying a hat with there is going back into these licenses for these kids, and so that's another way to support that. And so visit our e-store at shop.gooutdoorstennessee.com to do that as well. And there's multiple ways you can help. One thing that I thought was pretty cool is not just kids from Tennessee that come here. Talk about a little bit about how people come from all across the U.S. for this.
I mean, we've been fortunate to. We have a national reputation. I would say the vast majority come from Middle Tennessee, about 50%.
Okay.
But like one of the a couple of the young men you met this morning, one was from Atlanta, one was from North Carolina. We get them from, California, usually the East Coast, Southeast. But I think just the tremendous work of the staff here and so forth has put us in the national realm of things, and we're fortunate, and there are times when the kids help us more than we help them, and so.
And I think I said something to you earlier. A lot of people go about their lives, they don't see any problems, but there are problems that need to be addressed with youth, with substance abuse, with depression. I mean, you see that every day, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, it's an epidemic. My hope is, once kind of, if we get to the point where COVID takes a back seat, that some of that same attention and funding and so forth, because we're losing so many young people. The fentanyl crisis, these kids are dying, and I did a focus group recently with some individuals. I want to look at starting something to help young men, and in that focus group, it was like connection. We don't have connection. We can't show up authentically anymore, and due to social media, and so it's just we've got to do more. They're brilliant kids. They're bright kids. They keep us going. Yeah, love it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, this is awesome. Excited to learn more about this and be able to share it with our audience and let more people know about it. So, there's, like you said, there's people struggling out there, and this is nothing better than therapeutic, outdoors.
Absolutely.
So,
especially fly fishing.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So look these guys up and learn more about this. And if you want to reach out to them, do so. They can help you, help your kids maybe, or find ways you can help them if you're looking for ways to donate. I'm sure they would appreciate it.
We welcome it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for reaching out to us and having us be partners with you guys. And
Absolutely. We're very grateful.
Yeah. Glad we can share this today. Barry, thank you for helping co-host.
I was glad to be here. It's a great place. I'm glad I got to come out here and tour the property, and if you're helping kids, you're doing something right. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, if you want to support and help, find them on social media, find them on our website, give them a call, buy a hat, help donate towards the funds to get these kids licenses and get them out there fishing. Keep coming back to Tennessee WildCast. We thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.